what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it, and we hope you enjoy it. So let's get into Maason Smith. The big, horrible news yesterday, although there was something almost comforting about it. The last few years of LSU football, it feels like preseason, you need at least one major body blow out of nowhere. It's just far too smooth of an offseason. And this time, the body blow came in the form of Maason Smith being suspended for game 1 against Florida State, which
tight.
Decidedly untight. And Florida State, lucky ass, will now avoid Maason Smith altogether.
For 2 years.
For 2 years in a row. The one series they saw him, he blew them up, and they will not have to worry about him again this year. As, quote from Wilson Alexander's article, the NCAA determined Maason Smith received an improper benefit from an autograph signing before the NIL era began, July 2021. Although Smith cooperated with an investigation, the NCAA has ruled him out for the first game. And Jake, you've plumbed your sources, the same thing.
Yeah,
you've heard what Matt's out there talking about, the same signing that we now know held Keyshawn Boutte out of a game last year, which I believe we were kind of lied to at the time. Told it was the flu, maybe, right? But
there was 2 games last year, one for the birth of his child and one for the flu.
But the flu ended up being the suspension.
So it's my time. Timeline, Maason Smith's freshman year was 2021. So this was before he even played in the game, correct?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because 21 and 22 last year was his sophomore year.
And that would have been pre-NIL, right? I suppose.
Literally right before it.
It's, geez, this is, I don't know. First off, yet another example of never cooperate with the NCAA.
Ever.
Like that last line right there. Smith cooperated with that investigation. NCAA still rules him out in the first game. An added dash of just awful luck that you can't serve this last year because he has a torn ACL and has to miss an entire year. Must be beyond the NCAA's comprehension to,
Mm-hmm.
factor in that you could deem that punishment enough for something that looks as absurd and pointless. So and so that's the other thing. Remember when we were talking about Will Wade in the NCAA, and kind of my consistent line was like...
We actually brought it up yesterday.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean just like that whole saga.
Yeah.
The entire time, my point was that, I am not morally or ethically offended by anything that has taken place here, and therefore, you're going to have to catch this man like with the dead body in his house for me to be like, okay, you got him, you can suspend him or whatever. I'm not morally or ethically offended by those players being paid large amounts of money. An autograph signing in the day and age now where we have, players making literal hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars. It boggles the mind in its absurdity, and it highlights where and why the NCAA crumbled, right? Like the same way that the USC opening the season on the Pac-12 network this weekend highlights why the Pac-12 got to where it is. The NCAA having a opening game penalty from 2 years ago, over 2 years ago, in the age of NIL for an autograph signing, it's illogical. Technically against the rules, but to anybody that would just look at it from an ounce of sort of like a logic standpoint, it is just beyond stupid. And I can't help but get a sort of a zombie feeling from the NCAA, Jake, right? Like, did you ever watch Walking Dead back in the day? It's like you've stabilized, you've got a new encampment, everybody's living kind of a relatively normal life, and then you walk through the woods and like a zombie that's been hanging out doing nothing under a tree for like 3 years. He's buried by leaves and he just rolls over and bites your ankle. Yeah. Like, what the hell? Like, I made it. I made it through all the cannibalism. I made it through all we had established an actual society here, and now I'm going to die? Because this a-hole who doesn't mean anything has just been sitting there waiting the entire time. I get it. technically against the rules at the time, but it is so absurd. It's so stupid.
Yeah, I mean, you've heard me say it before. NCAA, the governing body that doesn't ever govern, and when they do, they suck.
Yeah.
That's who they are. Like, they hide, just like you said, in the leaves, and then they pop up and they try to do something and be somebody. It's like, what are you doing? And to a lot of people's point, and I know people from other fan bases will watch this clip and they'll be like, yeah, but the rules are the rules. Even in past history, when you've had someone that has done this, like they hadn't even got, like Manziel got half a game, I'm pretty sure. And it was not even remotely close to being legal then. So it's when you see what you knew what the future was going to look like in the NIL space. When you see what it looks like now, and to go a game, I mean, this is a harsh punishment. This is
at least let him choose the game. Bro.
That's what I was just literally about to say to you, and I agree wholeheartedly. Like, you got a top 8, top 7 matchup in the country that everybody's fired up for, and now you're going to be without one of the best players in the country. This stings. This hurts. This is one of those cases yet again where the NCAA just can't get out of their own way.
It's
because I mean, like Kayshawn last year, was it the New Mexico game?
Yeah, you get to choose. I mean,
everybody gets to choose.
I also don't. I cannot fathom that you can't argue some sort of appeal process that missing an entire year with a torn ACL is pseudo punishment enough. Like, if we don't we have stuff like time served in actual criminal courts? Like, can you not count that as time served? I know he wasn't suspended, but he missed the games nonetheless. It's again, mind-bogglingly stupid.
And you're right about, like, helping out the NCAA with the investigation.
Yeah.
And like, trying to work through it. Every time you've ever done that, like North Carolina, when they tried to do that, like, and other people have tried to do that, it never turns out well. Like, no, y'all got it. Y'all go figure it out. We're good.
Yeah.
It's like Quentin Williams. No, I'm good.
Yeah. You got to catch yourself in the middle of it. Oh, yeah, I was out. No, I wouldn't have that son.
And honestly, T, like, you and I both been fortunate to do these autograph signings. It's okay.
I've actually never done one. The only autograph signing I've ever done was like Fan Day back in the day.
Okay, well, we need to fix that.
But whatever. But so how does that work though? Like, how does it work? Where are we going with that?
A lot of times you get paid like per item. A lot of times it's not like a show where they're paying to see you. They bring an item, they pay, and you get a cut of it. Or if you're signing a ton of autographs and they'll distribute them to other people, maybe throughout the state or throughout the region. Those people sell them in their shops, and you get per item, a price. And it's good money. It is. I mean, it's like one paycheck kind of money.
Damn.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not like life changing.
No,
it's like
badass.
it's a nice like little chunk of change, but it is certainly not something where I would think the hammer would be brought down.
Let's get into a few questions about the game itself, Jake. The first one is this. Does this move the line for you? And I mean, like, the literal gambling line. Is this a big enough loss to shift your expectations there? Because LSU right now is still 2.5-point favorites? Maybe it changed today. I mean, we could see if the line actually literally moved after this news. But I believe last I looked, they were 2.5-point favorites.
Typically, it doesn't for a non-quarterback. And I saw your guy, Bud Elliott. He's, Florida State ties. Someone asked him that same question, and he's like, he's already banged up per reports and coming off an ACL and doesn't play quarterback, so it won't impact that line that much.
Yeah,
I don't know
LSU.
what that much means.
-2.5 on DraftKings.
Okay, so no, it has not. I think Sinner also randomly moves the line, but I'm not. There was a stat a few years ago where that was the only other one. You're starting Sinner. But.
Honestly, so as good as Maason Smith is, obvious statement there, very good football player, All-American type guy, you do have the luxury of having another All-American next to him, Mekhi Wingo. That's a luxury for you, and you have Guillory, who has been here for a very long time, played a lot of football. So, not Maason Smith, certainly, but a good player. If you lost another player that maybe he's not even as good as Maason Smith at another position, I think that would hurt you more. You're very fortunate that you do miss a star player, but you have another star player who plays the same position. And then you have a veteran backup that can come in. It's not great. It's not ideal. But, if you lost Harold Perkins Well, he's probably doing a lot of different things over there for that defense. Who could you have replace him? I don't know that you could. Even if you lost one of Major Burns, right? Major Burns, not the player that Maason Smith is, but to the LSU needs right now, that would be a major blow. Like, we could go a couple of different positions maybe and talk about it. Now, offensive line, like we talked about yesterday, if you lost Emory Jones, man, that would be awful. But you'll at least have a backup that you feel could step in, and you wouldn't just have a fire sale.
I do see what you're saying, and it's a very good point in that last year when you lost Maason Smith, it was thought that you lost the best player on your roster.
Yes.
I don't think that's the case this year because of Harold Perkins and
because of Mekhi Wingo, the way he played.
Yes, for sure.
He was the highest rated defensive tackle in the country last year and played, 30 more snaps than anybody else?
Yeah, over 30 more snaps. Than
so you'd love to have both. Trust me when I say you'd love to have both of those guys in at the same time because you've been waiting to have both those guys in at the same time. But if you're trying to find just some sunshine here, you do have another All-American at the same position.
Well, that's good because from my perspective, I'm only seeing clouds. This freaks me out.
You were freaked out about the game yesterday.
That's what I'm saying. I already thought the game was a coin flip. I'm already terrified of LSU secondary going against these receivers and Jordan Travis. I was thinking that an uber disruptive pass rush was maybe the best defense against that, and this obviously is a major blow to the uber disruptive pass rush. And so kind of like my key to the game was that D-line finding a way to play very well against that very upperclassman-laden Florida State line, all juniors and seniors across the board. And now you're going to tell me that you lose, one of the top 5, top 3 players all your entire roster, the position that I maybe already thought was more important than most of the others going into this game. And I already thought maybe LSU was going to have to win this in a shootout fashion. Now I feel even more like LSU is going to have to win this in a shootout fashion. Again, I just don't know. I desperately hope to be proven wrong, but I don't think LSU's DBs can keep up with Florida State's receivers. The only thing I will say, if I'm looking for some sort of a life raft to help me from spiraling into a black hole of negativity, is that Matt House comes from the NFL. And in the NFL, you do not get to be a successful coach unless you can manipulate, mask, and learn to handle kind of next man up type of situations. And the points that Jake made as well kind of reinforce this as well, where maybe you are a bit better suited to handling an injury there than you would be at some other positions, given all the reasons we just talked about. But yeah, I mean, for Matt House now, I'm just kind of hoping that he can scheme up something. We talked about zone coverage, like whatever it is, come up with some way of helping these DBs, masking that weakness, and still getting that pass rush without Maason Smith.
Yeah, and I understand you and the defensive backs against Florida State's receivers and some of the things that we're hearing, reports from camp. But another point of it, you do have to remember that the DBs are going against what's considered a top 3 receiver room in the country as well. Every single day in practice.
Oh, okay. You've seen it at LSU.
No. Oh, LSU's receiver room is still better than Florida State.
Yeah, I agree. I would put them. They're better than Florida State. I mean, them. Everybody says
State.
Texas. Ohio State obviously is probably number 1.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Florida State's definitely top 10, maybe top 5.
So I guess my whole point is it's not like it's going to surprise them.
That's fair.
And who they go against. I mean, they're going against Neighbors and Thomas and Lacey and a slew of freshmen and Aaron Anderson every single day. So it's not going to surprise them. It's the group that has to step up the most. There's no way to hide it. There's no way to try to make it sound like it's another position group. So it doesn't change that. To your point, you felt better about that matchup because you were going to have interior pass rush, which we talked about and what they can do for you. And so you're going to lose some of that. That's just the way it is, because even as good as Mekhi Wingo is, he is somebody that is really good at holding the line, stopping the run. It's not necessarily getting to the quarterback from that position. You were going to get an interior pass rush from Maason Smith, and that's the part that I just don't know that you can replace.
Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.